Right.
Robert Earl Dean. But on the brighter note, we got a great interview today. Man,
Y'all,
who we got with us
this
today?
is a great interview. I've been trying to get this one for a few years, but God's timing is impeccable. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a childhood friend. We were next door neighbors,
Hmm.
and God has taken this young man all over the world. He's doing great things in the LA area, Texas area. Ladies and gentlemen, you may not know him by name, but you've seen him play football. He is a two-time NFL world champion, none other than Byron Chamberlain. Welcome to the Wake Up Morning Show.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me on. Robert Earl, it is a pleasure to be on the show with you.
You guys, this man has done so many great things. I'm so godly proud of him. And y'all, he can sing too. So he is into gospel music more than we would ever know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I got my start in gospel music with you, and I don't know if we want to start off with this story
We
right
can. I know where
away
you going with
this early
this.
in the morning. You know where I'm going with this, and this is why I knew you would be doing what you would be doing right now. You know, Robert. I was born in Hawaii, and I moved to Southeast San Diego when I
Hmm.
was 4 years old. We moved right next door to you in Bay Vista
Yep.
Apartments. And I lived there from the time I was 4 years old to about the time I was 10. And we were next door neighbors. We were in and out each other's
Yes.
house every day. But one of the best things we always did was we would sit on the steps, me, my sister Dana,
Yep.
your sister Kat, my brother Brian, and we would play choir.
Yes, sir.
And guess who was the choir director?
Who?
Robert Earl. Robert Earl was the choir director every time. So I had, I knew from then, you would be doing something with gospel music, and that was your calling, and that's where you would be.
I just want to first of all dispel a couple of rumors
Well,
that
no
I
rumors
heard.
today.
Uh, could you please tell me if it's true? But I heard back in the day that you and Robert had a foot race, and he had on his hard bottom church shoes, and he still won the race.
I
You, I just
don't
want.
know if he won that race, but he did have his church shoes on.
See?
And we'll leave it at that.
Right.
I don't remember. I don't remember losing many races in my days.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So let me tell you this.
You know,
I spent 13 years as a counselor and an advisor over at Knox Elementary School. So very fond of the
mhm.
families that I met at Bay Vista. Let's just talk about your sojourn in what I call the breeding ground called Bay Vista.
Okay. Well, we started there, and the one thing that I really appreciated about Bay Vista, especially when we grew up, Robert,
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
was a real community. It
Yes,
was a
sir.
real community where there was tons of kids that grew up there. There's tons of kids that went on to do amazing things in this
Amazing.
world that got our start right there. Um, but I remember your mother. I remember my aunt lived right on the other side.
Yes.
My aunt Thelma.
Yes.
I mean, she'd be out there whooping guys in basketball.
Yes, she would.
But we felt safe. We felt like a real community. And so those were the things that really kept us going. Those are the things that really inspired us. I remember we'd go on the playground on Saturday mornings. Everybody bring their bikes out, and if you didn't have a bike to ride, people would share their bikes with you. And it was
Hmm.
just a different time back then.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I'm dating us a little bit, but it was a different time, and you felt that real sense of community growing up in Bay Vista.
Yeah, and that was one of the things about it. I always tell people they used to say, "Well, that's our ghetto," and when I would take people from back east or even up in LA and say, "Oh, well, that this over here is considered our ghetto," they said, "Well, that looks like a suburb where we're from."
Yes.
And one of the things that I
Yeah.
loved about Bay Vista, this going and seeing families and meeting families, you could literally walk through there and. The minute that you got on the grounds, it would just be said, "Hey, Dr. T is on the yard or in the complex," and parents would come out and all the different community people come out just to connect with you while you were there. And that's what I loved about Bay Vista
Mm-hmm.
is that there was truly a sense of community, but also I always said you couldn't get on Bay Vista's ground without people knowing you were there.
Oh
You
yes.
know,
Yeah.
if you got
And
the
I'm gonna tell
minute
you
you stepped on,
this, and I'm gonna tell you this, like when you lived there, everybody knew you.
yeah,
Everybody.
yeah,
Everybody knew whose kid you were. And so you did something, they knew your mama. And they were gonna tell. And you were gonna get disciplined.
Oh yes.
And that was the thing that you couldn't go anywhere and do something crazy when we were growing up in Bay Vista and some adult not see you and not correct you.
yeah.
So still, it was just a different time back then, but it was a wonderful place to grow up. I started Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts there.
Hmm.
Started playing baseball and football right there in Bay Vista. Yeah.
Yeah, so many great memories. It's funny because I run into people all the time, and they remember those times of me having a choir on the playground, and he was
Yeah.
one of my favorite choir members, and we had such good times. And I mean, you could trust families. Even our upstairs neighbors had keys to our apartment, so if something happened to us, they could assist us. Such a great place. Like he said, so many wonderful people have come out of Bay Vista. We've had lawyers, teachers, principals. My college roommate, Darrell Sims, attended Grambling State with me. He was my roommate, and he's now, I think, a teacher or a principal or something of that nature.
Well, I do have a beef with Bay Vista.
You got a beef?
I got
You had a
beef
rumor
with
now
Bay
of beef.
Vista.
Thought you were
You
gonna be
you
right
really
today.
don't want
Yeah.
to you really don't want to beef with Bay Vista.
Oh no,
Come
I'm
on.
No.
trying to tell you. Let me tell you
Right.
about my beef. And you might be able to relate to this
Right.
beef. Robert, you might be able to. But when I came to Knox Elementary School, I was a young, fit gentleman, and all the mothers over in Bay Vista started cooking for me.
Well, they can
And
cook.
before
Okay.
I
Oh,
knew it,
yeah.
I had put on some pounds, and I said, "Y'all gotta stop cooking for me." They said, "Well, Dr. T, you work so hard. We just want to make sure." So
They can cook.
my beef is that when you would go onto the Bay Vista grounds, if you came at a certain time, everybody was cooking and everybody wanted to feed you, and they cooked so good that I couldn't say no.
You can smell it.
Yeah,
You could, yeah, yeah, you definitely could. And that's the thing I alluded to earlier. Like, we took care of each other, and like everyone knew each other. So my mother, when my mother and my father divorced,
Hmm.
and my mother was a single mother with three kids, and she immediately enrolled back in San Diego City College. She was taking night classes, and so we would be home by ourselves, these three young kids, but we always could go to, you know, Robert Earl's mother would take care of us,
Oh
feed
yeah,
us. My aunt Thelma, like I said, lived on the other side
around
of
the
the
corner.
building. Here's a name. Here's a name for you, Robert. David Gaines. We spent
They,
a lot of time at
oh, David
David
Gates,
Gaines' mom
yes.
would take care of it. Yes, yes, and we spent many nights over there while my mother was in night school, and so
Miss Rosie,
it was just yeah, Miss
My cousin
Rosie,
Tia's mom,
uh,
Bunny
the
Mitchell,
Candy Lady,
Bunny Mitchell.
everybody.
Yeah,
so
But and it was like I said, just a real community, a real place where you know mothers would take care of kids, and regardless of whether they were their kids
right.
or the neighborhood kids, you always had a place to go. You always had a place to eat. You always had fun and people around that supported you and cared for you.
Yes.
so tell us what's going on in your life now.
Oh man, what hasn't gone in my life?
He
Um,
travels all over the world, y'all, all the time.
so yeah, after 10 years in the NFL, 7 with the Denver Broncos, 3 with the Minnesota Vikings, 2 Super Bowls with the Broncos, and a Pro Bowl with the Vikings. I've really parlayed that and used that to kind of launch my career. I coached for a couple of years in college at the University of Missouri, and then one at Wartburg College in Iowa. But I really didn't want to be stagnant in one place,
Hmm.
uh, and so I started this thing. I got invited to go to China, and this was back in 2013,
Hmm.
and it was to help launch college football in China. And so
Wow.
we created a 12 team college football league,
Wow.
traveled all over China, um, and from Beijing, Shanghai, Harbin, Tianjin, Hong Kong, all over the country of China, uh, and helped 12 different universities create college football teams, started the started a football league, and actually coached the first college game there. And I coached against another San Diego native Ricky Williams, Heisman Trophy winner,
Okay.
Yes.
from Patrick Henry.
Israelite Church of God in Christ.
Yeah.
Yes, and Ricky coached the Shanghai Institute of Technology team. I coached the Beijing International Studies University team, and that was amazing experience. And we did that from about 2013 to about 2017. But that ultimately led me to getting calls from all over the world. And Robert's not when he says that. That's exactly what it is. I've coached in Chile. I've coached in Sweden, in Egypt, and there's some places you think that you would not really realize that they play American football there, and so Italy, just all over the globe. So I've been blessed to have to travel to over 60 countries, with a goal of getting to 100 countries. Um, what I'm doing currently right now, I'm working as the associate AD and director of development at Cal State LA
Yep.
University. So in over the entire athletic program. I'm also uh, finishing my MBA, my master's in business administration from Fordham University in New York. So I travel back and forth from LA to New York to sit in a classroom because it's always been a goal of mine. Um, one of the things that for me is I have a lot of goals, I have a lot of dreams,
Yes.
and I only have one life, so I got to get them done. So I'm not going to ever sit stagnant.
Don't.
I'm never going to be just in one place. I'm always going to keep growing. I'm always going to keep, even if I try and fail, I'm going to try them.
That's right.
I'm going to try to accomplish them. But that's kind of what's going on. And one more thing, Robert, because you mentioned this, you just mentioned Israelite Church of Christ. Do you know how many nights I spent in them pews there?
Yes.
I spent so many.
Israelite.
Hey, yeah, 100%. I spent so many nights with prayer meetings,
Revival.
overnights
Yep.
in those
Shut
pews,
ins.
revivals, all shut in, all of that at Israelite for sure.
Well, here's a small world. Um, Ricky Williams, I was one of the people that actually sat down with him when he was trying to make a decision on where he was going to go to college.
Oh,
And we
nice.
rested on Texas. His uncle was my best friend, is still my
Who?
best
Elder
friend,
Golf?
Elder Golf.
That was my Sunday school
Yeah,
teacher at Israelite Church of God in
yeah.
Christ.
And his cousin is actually a part of our team here, William Goff the third, here at the
Oh,
radio
okay.
station. So it's funny how we're so tied in. Y'all was at Israelite, I was at Greater Jackson Memorial Church of God in
On
Christ.
Ocean View.
Yeah, and so it was just all these connected pieces. The thing that I wanted to ask you is when you were a kid, could you imagine traveling to all the countries that you have traveled to? Was that a vision of yours, or was that something that came after you went to the NFL and began to see all the great things?
You know, I have to be honest with you, it definitely was. I just knew, um, and partly because of my mother, but I just had really big visions and really big dreams. And I knew I was going to do something really, really big. And I always dreamed about traveling the world. Didn't know how I was going to do it. Didn't know what the vehicle was. Um, I'd never thought about playing in the NFL back then. That wasn't a goal of mine. Um, but I always knew that I would have big dreams and I would do big things. And my mother was probably a catalyst for that.
Hmm.
She always encouraged us to think big, to think
Mm-hmm.
bigger. And I'm going to tell you this, and I mentioned this story already, but this was a big deal for me to see as a child. My parents got divorced, and I'm probably about 6 years old.
Hmm.
And my mother now is a single mother with 3 kids. She's my brother Brian, my sister Dana, and I'm the youngest.
Hmm.
And she immediately signs up for welfare. She's got to get some income.
Hmm.
But the other thing she does is she enrolls in college.
Mm-hmm.
And and so I remember times she would take us. Now, at the time, it was San Diego City College, but it was college nonetheless.
Right.
Do you understand how inspiring that is to a kid
Yes.
to see your mom back in school and the importance of education to her?
Yes.
Because she had a plan and she had a goal to build a better life for herself, and
Hmm.
she was going to do it through education. And so that played a huge role in us. And so when my mother would speak those things to us, she was actually doing them too. So we saw the example.
Example.
And then as I grew, I'm like realizing the gravity of that situation. Being a single mom with 3 kids and back in school, finishing your degree. And she wound up starting there, but she finished at Texas Wesleyan
Hmm.
in Fort Worth, Texas. That's where she got her bachelor's. And so that was just an amazing, but she always encouraged us to not ever, don't worry about the situation you're in, but work towards something greater and have big dreams and have big goals.
Yes.
So, can you give a testimony? Now we're hearing the greatness of what you're doing. What about your brother and sister?
Oh man. My sister Dana is an accountant. She's probably one of the most brilliant persons I've ever met.
Hmm.
You talking about a person who just loves numbers,
Mm-hmm.
can sit down with numbers all day. For
Mm-hmm.
me, I would be bored, but she's back. She's in living in Arlington, Texas. My brother Brian joined the Marines,
Hmm.
and then he was married. Him and his wife opened 3 hair and nail salons in San Diego, in the city of San Diego.
Hmm.
He passed away uh, about 12 years ago now.
Mm.
Um, uh, and that's a crazy thing. He had lung cancer, but he wasn't a smoker.
Right.
He wasn't lived a clean life. And
Hmm.
it's just, it's crazy how random those things are
Right.
sometimes. Um, but he left a wonderful legacy with his son Daniel, who he named after me.
Wow.
Everybody knows, and Robert knows this. No one calls me Byron. If you know me, you call me Daniel.
Hmm.
Everybody called me Daniel growing up. My family calls me Daniel, and so he named his son after me. Um, so that was cool. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on. My mother is in Texas. She's retired. She worked with special needs kids in
Wow.
the Fort Worth Independent School District for about 27 years.
Wow.
Um, she is out living her best life right now,
Mm-hmm.
remarried. She has 2 special needs people who she takes care of
Hmm.
24/7 that live in her home. Um, Robert, we got her a beautiful home in Crowley, just south of Fort Worth,
Hmm.
and she's living it, man. She's doing it. I'm happy for her.
Yes.
I saw her struggles
Yes.
earlier in her life,
Hmm.
and her latter years have been amazing. So I'm very proud of her.
Now, how was your transition from San Diego to Texas?
It was very interesting. Like I said, we spent time in Hawaii. We spent time in San Diego, and then moving to Texas was a whole nother world. It was different.
Imagine.
But I'm going to tell you 2 things that happened to me in Texas. It was for the first time when I got to high school there, Eastern Hills High School in Fort Worth. I started playing football, and that was the sport literally that changed my life. And if you know anything about Texas, it is a football. High school football is a big deal.
Yes.
And so I started playing for the first time. when I got to Texas, had immediate success, and uh, my whole goal was to get to college. My whole goal was, oh, this is a way that I can get my college paid for.
Free.
I'm all in. So I was a great student. Graduated with about a 3.2 GPA. I was the number two receiver in the entire state of Texas.
Wow.
So that really allowed me to get recruited by almost every college in America. One of the one of the proudest things for me was having those choices and those opportunities. And that's what I tell kids when I talk to them. Don't get pigeonholed into, oh, I have horrible grades, so I can only go to a JUCO.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with going to a junior
Right.
college. There's so many great people have started there. But the thing is, you want to have options. You want to create as many options as you possibly can for yourself.
Right.
And so being a star football player, but also being a great student really created those opportunities for me and allowed me to really pick where I wanted to go to college.
So what college did you go to?
So I started at the University of Missouri
Uh-huh.
and had a great time there. I was there for 3 years. I had too good of a time, and that was just part of the maturing process and
Of
growing
course.
up. You go off to college your first time having a little freedom.
Yes.
I'm playing football, having some success doing that, and not really paying attention to I'm socializing, and my grades kind of were lacking,
Yes.
and I'll be honest with that. I wasn't putting the attention that I needed to into the classroom. I was so fascinated with everything else,
All the attention.
and a lot of attention, a lot of the social life of college, you know uh, the parties, the fraternity parties,
Yes.
and all those things.
Yes.
Friends from everywhere, traveling with people, doing all those other things that you need to experience in college, but really putting my grades and my studies on the back burner. So I wound up transferring to Wayne State in Nebraska. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was a wake up call, number one. Number two, it was a smaller school. And so I got a lot of attention from professors. The classes were smaller. And it was just, it was, it's what I needed at that time. And I still was able to play football, but I still was able to graduate with over a 3.0 GPA, and got my degree in communications, and
Me
and
too.
was eventually drafted by the Broncos.
Now I do want to say to you that if there was ever one black mark on your record, because you played with John Elway,
Hmm.
right?
You 100%.
Okay,
That's my quarterback.
That was the
And
black,
Terrell Davis.
well, no, see, that was the only thing why I could not cheer for the Denver Broncos because see, I went to Cal when John Elway was at Stanford.
Oh, it was at
And so,
Stanford. Yes.
Denver, as much as I love all the Denver folks in the community and all my brothers that came from San Diego that played on there, John Elway just every time I saw him grab a football, I said, "No, we can't cheer for him because we've been cheering against him
It took
since
you
college."
back Cal Stanford. Yeah,
And that
yeah. But
mine was opposite. I like Denver Broncos because of him and Terrell Davis.
yeah.
Terrell Davis's brother JD was my mentor when I was in high school, but I walked from Bay Vista Apartments to San Diego State University to a track meet, and Lincoln was running, and I met JD, Terrell's older brother, and he spoke to me, and I was like, "You from Lincoln?" He said, "Yeah." And from there, we became friends. So when I came to Lincoln as a 10th grader, he was like my big brother, and he allowed me to go to UC Irvine and stay with him in the dorms for a week. That changed the trajectory of my life. I knew then that I too could go to college, and then I ended up going to Grambling State first, and then graduated from University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff.
Yeah.
Well, the other my Terrell Davis story is, we knew of each other when we were young in Southeast San Diego, and his Terrell actually lived a few houses from my uncle George,
Skyline.
And yeah, over in Skyline, and so we knew about each other. Then we get to Denver, and the first person I see when I get off the plane is Terrell Davis. What are you doing here? It's like, what are you doing here?
Right.
Hey, we're going to the Broncos. Oh, okay. And immediately became best friends, became roommates.
Wow.
And really our journey kind of began together because he was the 6th-round draft pick. I was the 7th-round draft pick. So we were the two guys that weren't supposed to make it.
Come on.
And we really motivated each other. We helped each other, and our careers really took off. And it's funny because I'm sitting at the Hall of Fame when Terrell's getting inducted to the Hall of Fame, and I'm sitting there with Mike Shanahan, our coach. And if I tell you the other guys that got drafted ahead of us, that the Broncos drafted ahead of us, you would not know any of the names. I guarantee you wouldn't. No one played more than like 2 years.
Wow.
Most of the guys were cut the first year.
Wow.
The last two guys were the two guys who made it and had careers. And obviously Terrell's ended up in the Hall of Fame. So I turned to Mike Shanahan and I said, Mike, remember that draft in 1995? I said, you know what you could have done? You could have just drafted me and TD, split all that money between the two of us, and saved you a lot of headache with those other guys,
right?
Man. And we would have been a little rich. And we laughed about that, man. But the thing about that, I think just both of us, with our time growing up in Southeast San Diego and all the things that we experienced, all the things we overcome, it prepared us for that moment. It prepared us for that opportunity. We had seen people from our neighborhood go and have some great success on the NFL stage, and we wanted to be a part of that too. And so he's my brother. We are very similar in personality.
Yes,
we're similar in the way we handle things.
Yes, sir.
Our moms are best friends. They travel this country together as well. LaWanda Davis. And so it was a pleasure to have somebody from my neighborhood on my team that I could relate to, that was a friend and a brother, and was on that journey along with me.
That's rare. That's a rare occurrence.
Yeah, and one of the powerful things about it is that, and I always say this, and they recognized each other, and they respected each other enough, and they built on what they had already had started. And not only that, you're not hearing that we played ball and then that was over.
Right.
They built family, and the families are still tied in today. And one of the things I love about it is, to say that there's life before football, there's life after football. And just because you weren't the first round draft choice does not mean your career is over.
No, sir.
And it was like the grind that you were shown by your parents and by the lifestyle pushed you to that next level. You could have gave up when you were at Missouri and it didn't work out for you, but you found a way to grind through. You got drafted, and then it's kind of like you all left it out on the field. They had to look at y'all because y'all were so talented.
They had to.
And everything like that. So I want to move forward to today. You're making impact all over the world for college football. How is the NFL family supporting you as you're going to help out with all these other colleges?
Well, the NFL is, they have learned from the NBA. The NBA is the greatest sport when it comes to globalizing their game. When you look at the NBA draft, I mean, you see guys from Croatia, from France, from Australia, from all these other countries, and the NFL has understood that those opportunities are out there. There's athletes everywhere, so I kind of work with them. They're in the process of setting up 4 headquarters: one in Australia, one in Mexico City, one in London, and one in Africa. I think it's Ghana, and they're literally headquarters to scout talent from all around the world. And that's the biggest thing for the NFL. That's their biggest initiative right now, is to increase their footprint, to globalize their game, to find talent from all over the world and bring it I think one of the biggest things that they've done is establish NFL Africa. And now you're seeing an influx of African players
That's doing
on
well.
these teams that are doing very well.
Very well.
And they've kind of changed the rules as well, where you can bring an international player in for 3 years and he doesn't count against a roster spot.
Wow.
So it's allowing guys to come in. So that's kind of what I'm helping do is going to these countries and you know, I'm the grassroots boots on the ground to training the talent, identifying the talent, training the talent, doing camps, doing clinics, coaching coaches so they coach the game the right way, and so that's kind of what my role in that.
An ambassador. You're an ambassador.
An ambassador. That is a great way to put it. Yes.
So since we all San Diegan and from the community and all, I grew up in Skyline but worked over in right there in the Bay Vista area. I'm gonna ask for a personal favor. Say
Okay.
I ain't gonna ask for no money. But if you want to send some, go send some.
Right.
But I would love for you to be able to send Robert a photo of you with your 2 Super Bowl championship rings with your signature on it to my friend Robert. That would mean
easy.
the world to be able to see it. Robert has got people all over the world, and I always want to get him to have those pictures so that as we do his career and everything else that nature.
He's my manager too, Byron.
A lot of times people say, "Oh, I know this person," but when he say he knows you, he was like, "Look, this is the picture where he wrote himself to my childhood friend."
No. Listen. We like when people say they know you, they like we know each other.
We know.
Like we grew up together.
Literally.
Okay, I'm telling you, literally.
And you told your wife the same story. Remember, you came to that last Super Bowl San Diego had, and there was a fashion show. My cousin, my blood cousin, was over the fashion show. I met his wife, and he said, "Honey, this is the person I was telling you about. Used to sing and direct me on the playground." I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I tell that story. Everywhere I go, I tell that story. It was just a great time in life, and like I said, it was one of those things where I knew what you were going to be doing, and let's transition this a little bit. I went to high school in Fort Worth, Texas.
Come on.
Tons of gospel singers that come out of Fort Worth, Texas,
Yes, sir.
and I know them all. I used to sing with them all.
Yep.
And so, and he's worked with a few of them that were my mentors and big brothers.
I got chill bumps.
Yeah, Daylon Collins, Fred Williams, man, all
Myron
those guys.
Butler.
Me and Fred played football together at Eastern Hills High School. He was one of the guys. He was one of the guys that protected me when I was a freshman.
Yep.
And back then, it was a little different, so they had hazing and all that stuff. But my brother Brian was the guy that Fred looked up to. So when I came along, younger than them, Fred said, "Okay, once Brian graduated, I got you, Byron. You're good. I'm gonna take care of you." And Fred looked out for me. He was my guy.
Yeah, he's talking about Fred Williams. May he rest in peace. Was a very close friend of mine.
Yeah.
He wrote a song for my album.
Yeah.
He is the uncle of Myron Williams, who is now the International Church of God in Christ musical president. But Fred and I attended University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff together, and I traveled with him doing workshops. I led all the songs he taught, and he is the first person who printed a banner for me and said Grammy Award winner.
Amen.
So Fred was a wonderful man.
Amazing man. Like I said, one of the guys that he took care of me when I was in high school. He protected me. Yeah. He made sure I was good on any and everything, and that was football and in the choir.
Yeah.
Other names that I sang with, David Mann.
Yeah.
Sang with David Mann in All City Honors Choir in Fort Worth, Texas. Daylon Collins, my favorite.
He has a new single.
He's my absolute favorite.
He has a new single.
Definitely has a new single. He was in my sister Dana's class. They're a year ahead of me, but he's my all-time favorite. Sat right next to him every day in class because I wanted to be like him.
Yes.
I wanted to be him. he oh, whew,
now,
that boy can sing.
From the family, Kirk Franklin and family.
yeah, but
Yeah,
I gotta ask this
yeah.
question.
Ask it.
That this is my last rumor before we end this interview. I just want, you know, is it true that when you get ready to cut people from the team or have to cut somebody that you saying they cut, so sad you gotta go home today.
He could.
That is that. No, that is not true. You
Right.
maybe bring me to tears on that one, but
Right.
no, that is not true. You know, the thing about being cut, and the majority of guys, it happens to them. It's rare when guys walk away on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you have to be sensitive. You understand these are human beings with lives, with families most of the time, with goals, with dreams, and you're taking one of their dreams away, or feel at that time or that opportunity away.
Hmm.
It doesn't necessarily mean the end being cut, because when one team doesn't want you, there might be another team that does, and
Mm-hmm.
we've seen that over the years. So no, it's a very sensitive moment. I handle it that way as such, and try to show some empathy and care and concern while also doing your job.
He's just a good-hearted person. And he's always been that way. You
Mhm.
see him being in his position. He's still sensitive to the human side of people. There's so
Wow.
many mean people in different industries who are in high-level positions, but this is not one of them.
Here's my last question. I said it before, but this is my last question. Do you have
Okay.
children, and are they in the industry? If you do,
I have two children. I have a son named Bryson Kennedy, who just turned 24.
Wow.
He is in the uh, medical industry. He works at a hospital in Waterloo, Iowa. My daughter, Lauren, is 22. She is an artist and an amazing artist, and she's an actress as well. She just got a job. Thank God, she got a job with benefits.
Right.
oh,
um,
praise God for the benefits.
and yes, 100%. She can get out of my pocket. But anyway, no, that's my baby girl.
Right.
But she just got a job working for Disney, and
Wow.
I'm going to tell you what she does. She is the new Princess Tiana at Disneyland. So when you go to Disneyland and you see Princess Tiana from Princess and the Frog, Robert, I'm going to send you some pictures. She is the one who dresses up like the character, meets and greets kids and families
I've
and
heard about
everything.
her.
And yeah,
From
that is.
kids.
Yeah.
They just launched a new Princess Tiana restaurant at Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you go there, that is my daughter, Lauren Olivia.
Wow. Well,
Chamberlain.
we're gonna say this is gonna be to be continued. So godly proud of you,
We
my
got to invite him
brother.
to some of our
And
events.
not only that, Robert O'Dean is going to
100.
be dropping his single on February 10th here in San Diego at the Educational Cultural Complex. Would love for you and your wife to come down, but it is February 10th. More details to follow, but I want everybody to know that this is. I love this, Robert, because this is relationship.
Oh, God,
And
yes.
this is what community looks like.
Yes, it does.
And community could start in San Diego, but community is a reach for worldwide. And for you, Mr. Chamberlain, thank you so much
Yes.
for being the example that we can point to our young men that say that there's life before football and after football. There's life that you have to do on the academic field, and then when things might not have turned away, that you would definitely have other ways to go back and find other ways to get to your end goal,
Yes.
and then your drive. So, final words to you, my friend.
Yeah, let me say that I had a bunch of thoughts going through my head. One of them, um, the song that was played right before I got on, talked about he keeps on making a way.
Yeah.
That's literally my life. And you know, there's been so many situations that I've got put in, and there's always been a way. And I realize you got to do your part. You
Yes.
got 100% got to do your part.
Hmm.
But God will make a way if you do your part.
Yes, sir.
That's number one. Number two, uh, and that's the big thing. The kids from our community, the kids from Southeast San Diego, um, you gotta understand there's a huge world out there, and you are in a perfect breeding ground that can breed you for success for it.
Yes.
When I go all over the place, and people talk about me and Terrell and Ricky Williams
Marcus
and
Allen.
Marcus Allen and Reggie Bush and all these other guys. They said, man, there must be something in the water there. And I'm like, yeah, there is. There really is. There's
Yes.
something there that if you can tap into it, it will set you up for success, not just on a global scale, and being able to take that and be impactful to your community, to the people that helped you get started. So that's my words for today. And Robert, I just text you, so check your text message.
Yes, sir.
I just sent you Princess Tiana.
Yes.
I'm so proud of that girl.
Oh,
but
yes.
I thank you for having me, and I would love to do a part 2 because there's so much other stuff that we haven't even gotten to talk about. So, but I like I said, I 100% appreciate you having me on the show today.
We are honored to have you. We've been blessed to have so many great interviews. You are amongst the top, and you are one of my prayers. And I was like, there has to be a way that I'm going to get in touch with him. And we reached out to each other, and you immediately responded.
Well, my mother asks about you all the time.
You
Have
tell
you
her
seen
I
Robert
said
Earl?
I love her.
Every time
part of me.
I go I'm going to San Diego. Oh, have you talked to Robert Earl? Have you seen him? I said, yeah, we text, we stay in communication. He's busy, I'm busy, but we're still friends, and so
yes,
that'll never change.
Never. Family.
That'll never change.
Family forever and ever.
So with that being said, I'm trying to spell Daylon. How Daylon spell his name?
DALON.
DL, yes.
Yeah, he has a new single out that my friend Ernest J produced, and he has a new Christmas song with my friend Keisha Grandy and Daylon as well.
Okay, well, they haven't loaded it into the system, so next time we get it together, we are going to play it. But we want to thank you so much for tuning in and coming into GOD Radio 1. I just want you to know that we appreciate you for being you, and tell your daughter that we're going to spread the word that she's up there at Disneyland, and we're going to
support her. Yes.
Yeah, we're going to get her a raise. We're going to say, we only coming to see Princess Tiana.
That's right.
Give her a raise. Give her a raise.
But we ain't coming.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is none other than they call you Daniel?
We call him Daniel.
But my family calls me Daniel.
Yep.
Everybody else knows me as Byron.
Yeah. We're going to call him Byron Chamberlain because...
I know him as Daniel. That's where I know him from.
We don't know him that good, but Robert, you going to call him what?
I'll call him whatever he wants me to call him. Friend, family, brother.
Friend, family. There we go.
Yes.
Yeah, right here on GOD Radio 1.
.com.